It's time for another crowd control. We're talking to you about all the things going on in board game crowdfunding.
Yeah.
And like we said last week, things are off to a big start.
Yeah,
Some
huge
stuff
start already.
Yeah, some stuff actually launched between last week and now. Then we're mainly going to be focusing on.
There's always going to be stuff that launched between last week and now. We can't keep up. There's always new stuff launching.
Why don't they wait?
Yeah, they should just wait.
They should schedule it around this program, I think. No, there's some stuff that launched. There's some stuff launching this week. We're not going to talk about too much because we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Things like Storm Raiders.
Well, maybe like EVE Online.
EVE Online, which we didn't.
Of.
Yeah, we're going to have some coverage of that. But this week we've got some other things to talk about.
Yeah, the first one that I want to talk about is Metro Runner. This is from Thunderworks. This is a cyberpunk-looking game. This looks like,
Cyberpunk. That's what it says on the box. It's a cyberpunk-looking game.
It's called Metro Runner because you're running jobs around the city, but you're using the metro to get from place to place, and you are hackers. So as you're kind of playing this game, there is a puzzle that's happening where you are actually able to like hack into the metro.
Oh, you're talking about the center part?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like adjust that. That's the part that I think is really cool, is you can kind of change that so that you're able to get to where you're going efficiently.
Yeah, and that's just one of the actions you can take too, because the main thing is there's this rondelle that you're moving around on the board and the different spots on that rondelle. And like any good rondelle, you can actually go a little further, but you have to sort of spend to do that. But you're going to be interacting with different actions, one of which is to
that's the puzzle that I think is so interesting.
But you're also completing jobs.
You are.
You're sort of advancing your own sort of like player board, going up some tracks that will enhance your abilities to do the hacking, so it makes you better at hacking, better at this thing. But yeah, it seems like it's a Euro-y type game that kind of plunks people into the way,
Well, yeah, there's so many different layered mechanics with the rondelle, with the puzzle solving, and then there's a free expansion for backers that also adds a pick up and deliver element onto it as well.
That makes
where
sense.
If you move to specific spaces, you can kind of pick up data and then take it to another place to score points and try to complete the most of those. So it's layer upon layer, but we haven't gotten to play this, but from all reviewers that we've seen, people say that it comes together in a very satisfying way.
And you saw this played at PAX?
I did. I was
a demo?
watching them play it at PAX, drooling a little bit because it looked so cool on the table.
Yeah, it's a very colorful looking game.
I'm also kind of a sucker for cyberpunk artwork, and this one does nail that theme.
Yeah,
everything about it.
And to be clear, not officially endorsed by Cyberpunk or anything like that.
Well, no, like Cyberpunk Red.
Yeah.
Well, Cyberpunk as a genre exists.
Yeah, I suppose.
But
it's also a brand.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the genre, not the brand, not the video game. The genre of Cyberpunk.
I just wanted to be clear.
And they've even got some cool deluxe upgrades that like are UV or like shine in a black light and stuff too.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think they really went all out on this, and of course, they have a great production quality. So
the next game I want to talk about has no UV coating or black light nonsense.
Oh, it wouldn't.
It's called Kabuto Sumo Sakura Slam.
Yeah.
This is a new game based in the Kabuto Sumo world. It's basically that same style of game.
It's very similar.
Very similar.
Concept.
It's not a round board. It's a square board. That's not the only difference, I'm sure. But that is one of the big differences.
That is one of the big differences, though.
And the campaign looks, you could just get that. You can get a little bit more. You can get all the things, including the original Kabuto Sumo, with all the expansions and the new thing. I think that goes up to, it's $150 if you want everything.
But you're getting a lot.
You are getting a lot. There's a lot of wooden components. But on the low end, just to get this new game, with I think the one promo that is included, is like $39.
It's not bad for what you're getting. And if you're a fan of Kabuto Sumo, this is going to introduce a ton of new beetles.
Yeah.
I mean, that's effectively what you're playing as. And of course, each one has their own little special wooden component, their own little special player power. So it's an entirely new cast. So it's not just that the board itself is different. The gameplay is going to be a little bit different as well.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar, this is a very fun, light, family weight dexterity game where you're shoving slowly. Think of like those games where you drop a coin in, and then the coin, like, there's a thing shoving coins off the ledge. It's kind of like that. You're trying to shove each other out of this ring, like sumo wrestling.
Yeah, it was a great game. It was one of our top games, especially for kids and families. I know Jeremy Howard's big on it. He plays with his family as well. So if you're new to Kabuto Sumo, this is, like David said, your chance to get everything or just jump right into Sakura Slam. So we're going to be right back with a couple more, but before we do, another very special guest today. We're about to hear from Lance from Learn to Play Games.
Hey everyone, my name is Lance, and I'm with Learn to Play Games. Man vs. Meeple asked me to do a little clip about what the next project I'm excited about, whether it's one that's coming to my door, or one that's being launched, or one that I'm really excited about. And for me, my top pick was Dante Inferno. And this is a brand new one from Creative Game Studio. It is a 1 to 4 player game that is a fully cooperative, narrowly driven monster battle game. And I had a chance to try this one out at Gen Con this year, and they are going to be launching this one shortly. I believe in February they're going to be launching this campaign. And this is one I've really been excited about. They have really done a great job with Chronicles of Drunagor. It was one of my top picks years ago and really enjoyed the game, and now they have Apocalypse. So there's 2 solid games they've put out, and this one is going to be so much fun. I had a chance to try it, like I said, at Gen Con, and it's really interesting. They have a great narrative where you're going to be making tough decisions about things that you don't necessarily know the repercussions of until later on when you're facing off against whichever battle or scenario you've chosen to play. And at Gen Con, we started off with the very first one where he had this big nasty guy, and there was 3-dimensional terrain, so everything is interactive as well. So the terrain is not just there to get high ground and things like that. It is there to be moved and pushed around and used to your advantages, as well as the boss will use it to his advantages. It was pretty cool seeing him pick up pillars and truck them across the stage, smashing characters and knocking them off of their own pedestals and different areas, and constantly having to move around and deal with different situations that come up. And the boss is no joke, and he kind of builds up as time goes on as well. So you might think you're doing okay, and then all of a sudden stuff shifts and you're like, well, there goes that plan. So it was really cool and really interesting to see how they accomplished some of that stuff so far. And Dante's Inferno is a really interesting story to dive into. It's one that I definitely want to look at. I haven't had a chance to read through all of it yet. I read through a few few chapters years and years ago, and it's definitely one that I want to get back and take a deeper dive into, as it's one that's really interested me throughout the years. I played some video games based on it, and this game looks like it's really going to catch that theme very well. So this is one that I would highly suggest taking a look at if you're into boss battle games or narratively driven cooperative games. This is one that is high on my radar and one that you might want to check out.
Thank you, Lance. We have a couple more games to talk about ourselves and one ongoing campaign, but the first game I want to talk about is Silver, and this is sort of this deluxe collection edition of Silver. If you're not familiar with Silver, this is based on a game. It's Cabo-esque. This is from Bezier, and they've done, when they announced this, I was under the impression they were going to do one for every letter of the alphabet.
Yeah, I don't remember, did they say they were, or did it just assume that they were because they had A, B,
Maybe
C?
it was an assumption, but they did.
I don't know.
All these, starting with the letter A, up through now, there's 2 new ones. I think it's called I and Fang, so E and F, brings it to a total of 6. And this campaign is going to give you, whether you're new or old to the game, an opportunity to get into the whole thing. Because I think the base level pledge comes with the big collector's box where you can store everything, plus the 2 new versions of the game.
If you don't already have that.
Yeah, but you can get like everything.
Right.
You can get all 6 games in the collector's box with all a bunch of goodies and stuff like that too. I don't know. Honestly, I think I've only played a couple different versions. It's effectively the same game with minor little tweaks, like a new rule here and there.
Yeah, and there's different cards with every one.
Yeah.
And the card, that's kind of what it boils down to. Every game kind of is the same mechanically, but the cards have powers that can activate during the game. And so you're looking at different sets of powers, which are going to, effectively the powers are going to be what drives the gameplay.
It is. I do think there are some subtle differences in the games, but like at its heart, like Ryan said, it is a very similar type of game. It is Silver.
I played the first 2. Bullet was B. Oh,
I don't know.
Oh no.
I don't know.
I just froze.
I avoided doing that earlier when we introed this thing.
But Bullet was the one that I owned, that I still have. I still have Bullet. So that's why I can't remember that one. But we had a lot of fun with that back when it first came out. So
yeah. Well, Cabo, those kind of games are fun. There's been a few other. Stool Pigeon is another one that's kind of like that. But if you want all that Silver has to offer in this nice deluxe kit, they've got it here.
All right, the next one that I want to talk about is called Among Cultists, and this is the second campaign for this game. I'll admit, when I first saw that game, I think it was little bit over a year ago when they launched
Yeah,
their
the first
their
campaign was just a year ago.
It delivered late last year. It delivered. I saw it, and I'll admit that when I looked at this campaign, I brushed it off as all style, no substance, because it does look very good, and I thought that's what it was going to be. But then I got to see people play it at PAX, and I was captivated.
There's substance.
And I feel like I regret. I think a lot of people probably regret missing out on this when it first launched. So this is a social deduction game, and I know that myself, probably other people, a little bit burned out on social deduction, whatever. But the twist of this game of like having it take place on a board, having you kind of move around this area. Of course, like you are among cultists. Some of the players at the table are cultists. Some are investigators. It's a premise we've heard before, but the gameplay is really interesting. You're running around these rooms, collecting pages. Cultists can ambush you, but they can't. They don't want you to figure out who they are.
Sure.
So there's multi-leveled. It's like playing Don't Mess with Cthulhu as a board game instead
kind of
of
like
just a card
Among
game.
Us, right? A little bit.
I mean, a little bit like a cross between those things.
Yeah.
But the style is definitely there. I mean, the game looks phenomenal. The artwork, the components,
It does have
the
cool
cards.
artwork. This is a different, unlike most social deduction games, this game looks like it has a lot more going on to it.
Yeah, and it does.
This looks like a more robust board game that is also a social deduction game. And I have heard some good things about it too. I just haven't had a chance to play it.
Yeah, and it's coming with more expansions. I think they're up to 3 different boards you can play on now with all the new components and cards and everything that go with those boards. One of the expansions is brand new. So if you already backed Among Cultists, you might want to check it out to get the new board. If you, like me, coming at it with nothing, you can still get everything. They even re-released one of their older games as well as you can get as an add-on.
Yeah, so completely unrelated to that game.
Well, it's another social deduction game.
Oh, but it looks very different.
Yeah, but it's superhero themed, so that's kind of cool too.
I
so for me,
suppose.
so that's your chance to get that as well. So all of that is kind of coming under that Among Cultists banner. It's on the BGG Hotness right now too, which is pretty cool. So
That's
definitely.
not surprising. I wonder if they're running a contest of
I
some
don't know.
kind.
Definitely take a look at it though. It's worth looking at.
The last thing I wanted to talk about was a campaign that we covered last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know when it's delivering or how soon it will be delivering.
This year.
Probably later this year. The reason I bring it up is late last year they launched the Pledge Manager, and that's going to be running through, I think, February or March of this year. It's Witcher Path of Destiny, and I have to tell you, when we touched this game here on the channel, we just had the base box, and we had no knowledge of anything.
I think we had 3 stories, right?
There were 3 stories in the base box, and just there's the same components we basically played at Gen Con
last
year. And then since then, and I just looked at the pledge page, they added so much content to that campaign. It's not even funny. It's crazy how much they added to the campaign.
It kind of fell off my radar a little bit. Once we played it, we covered it, we did our video, and then I was like, okay, I didn't really pay attention to what they were unlocking as far as stretch goals go. And yeah, there's like 6 or 7 stories added onto that.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Well, not even just stories, all sorts of stuff. They have the Far East campaign, with totally new board and totally new characters and totally new decks of cards.
It's a lot.
There is a lot to it. I mean, I think the all-in, if you get the sun drop, if there's miniatures, obviously the miniatures are kind of more for show. I mean, miniatures are always for show.
Miniatures are definitely for show.
But they have the all-in with all the content, all the miniatures, sun dropped. I want to say it was like $400 and some.
Yeah,
that's
a lot, but it's a ton.
It's a fair amount of money. But their pledge not as though they haven't made enough money. The thing made like $6.3 million.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
As of when we recorded this. But hey, if you didn't get a part of it and you want to go check out the Pledge Manager, go throw a few more dollars to them. Toss a coin.
Toss a coin to the Witcher.
I'm just kidding. That was a bad joke to end on. Anyway, that's everything that we had to talk about in crowdfunding this week. If you have any questions about any of these things, good luck. We don't know anything else. No, seriously, get down in the comments below. We'll get down there and talk to you about whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah, and as always, let us know what you're excited about because we'd love to hear it.
100%. Until next time, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.